The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for over 1,000 years, its dominion stretching across countless systems, its fleets unmatched, its will unchallenged. It had crushed countless civilizations under its iron fist, absorbing or eradicating all who dared resist. When the Empire's scouts discovered humanity, they saw nothing more than another primitive species, young, inexperienced, and insignificant against the vastness of Imperial might. A single message was sent to Earth: submit or be destroyed. The response was defiance. The Empire had encountered defiance before. Many species had resisted their rule, believing themselves special, believing that they could stand against the tide. Every single one had been broken. Humanity would be no different, or so the Empire believed. To set an example, the Emperor ordered a punitive strike. This was not a war, merely a demonstration of power. The chosen target, Epsilon Eridani, one of humanity's largest colony systems. The attack was swift, brutal, and absolute. Imperial warships darkened the skies, unleashing destruction on a planetary scale. Cities were reduced to burning wastelands under relentless orbital bombardment. Biological weapons were deployed, suffocating entire populations, and toxic gas. Surviving civilians were rounded up and executed, their deaths broadcast across the Empire as a warning to others. Within days, millions were dead. And the message was clear: this is what happens to those who defy the Empire. The admirals of the Imperial fleet toasted their victory, believing that Earth would soon surrender, that humanity would beg for mercy. It was the same pattern that had repeated for centuries. But this time something was different. Earth did not break. Instead, in the shadows of their burning colonies, humanity prepared for war. For over 1,000 years, the Galactic Empire had ruled with an iron grip. Its military was unparalleled, its technology far beyond what most species could ever hope to achieve. The Empire did not negotiate, it conquered. It did not seek allies, it enslaved. Entire species had been wiped from existence for daring to defy the Emperor's will. When humanity was discovered, they were seen as nothing more than another primitive species. Sure, they had spacefaring capabilities and a military presence in their home system, but compared to the might of the Empire, they were insignificant. A formal message was sent to Earth: submit or be destroyed. Humanity's response? Defiance. The Empire had seen this before. Many species had resisted, believing themselves capable of standing against the tide. Every single one had been crushed. Humanity would be no different, or so the Empire believed. In response to Earth's refusal to surrender, the Emperor ordered a punitive strike. It was not meant to be a war, just a demonstration, a reminder of who ruled the stars. What followed was an atrocity that would ignite humanity's fury. The Imperial fleet arrived at Epsilon Eridani, a key human colony system. The attack was swift, merciless, and utterly devastating. Orbital bombardments reduced cities to molten wastelands. Biological warfare was deployed on civilian populations. Mass executions were broadcast across the Empire's networks as a warning to others. Millions died within the first day. The Empire's admirals celebrated their victory, believing humanity had been broken. They expected Earth's leaders to surrender, to beg for mercy. After all, that was what every other species had done before them. But Earth did not kneel. Instead, they prepared for vengeance. While the Empire saw humanity as weak, they failed to recognize one fundamental truth: humanity thrives in conflict. Unlike the stagnant, arrogant rulers of the Empire, humans had spent centuries fighting amongst themselves, refining their warfare, developing powerful military technologies, and preparing for threats far greater than themselves. Earth had long feared an extraterrestrial invasion. Deep within hidden military installations buried beneath the surface of the Moon and Mars, humanity had been preparing for the worst-case scenario. Black-budget projects, classified research, and experimental warships had been in development for decades. These preparations led to the creation of Project Dreadnought. In a secured military installation deep within the Sol system, the highest-ranking officials of Earth's United Defense Force convened. The room was filled with holographic displays of burning human colonies, intercepted Imperial transmissions, and the estimated death toll rising by the second. At the head of the table stood Admiral James Varian, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. His face was grim, but his voice carried a cold certainty. "The Empire believes we are weak," he said, addressing his officers. "They believe they've broken us, but they made one critical mistake." He turned to a digital interface, his hand hovering over a single command. "They let us live." With a single command, the Dreadnought initiative was activated. With this first act, the tides of war shifted. What was supposed to be a quick conquest for the Empire had now turned into their worst nightmare. In the next part of this story, we will witness humanity's first strike as the UES Titan leads Earth's fleet into battle. The retaliation will be swift, brutal, and unforgettable. The silence in the war room was thick, a tangible weight that pressed down on every officer, every technician, every soul present. Admiral James Varian, a man whose weathered face spoke of countless strategic simulations and hard-won victories, stood before the holographic projection of the Sol system. The blue marble of Earth hung suspended, a beacon of defiance in the vast indifferent darkness. The room deep within the Earth Defense Command Center was a marvel of human engineering, a labyrinth of consoles and holographic displays humming with the energy of 1,000 calculations per second. The air was crisp and cool, filtered and recycled, a stark contrast to the burning, chaotic realities of space. Varian's gaze swept across the assembled personnel, each face a mirror of grim determination. They were the architects of humanity's last stand, the guardians of a species pushed to the brink. For too long they had watched as the Galactic Empire's iron fist crushed their outer colonies, as their people were enslaved or slaughtered. The time for passive defense was over. The Empire thought they could burn our worlds and walk away. Varian began, his voice resonant and steady, a voice that commanded attention and respect. They thought we would kneel, they were wrong. His words echoed through the room, a solemn declaration that resonated with the collective anger and grief that had been simmering for months. The holographic projection shifted, displaying the 4 dreadnoughts, the UES Titan, Leviathan, Ares, and Prometheus, their imposing forms hanging in the simulated void. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, a testament to the relentless pursuit of survival. The genesis of the dreadnoughts. The Dreadnought Initiative was born from desperation and foresight decades ago as humanity expanded into the Sol system. Whispers of the Galactic Empire's vast reach began to reach Earth's ears. The Empire, a monolithic power that had subjugated countless worlds, was a looming threat, a dark shadow on the horizon. Knowing they could not match the Empire's sheer numbers, Earth's strategists focused on technological superiority. They poured resources into advanced materials, energy, weapons, and propulsion systems, all with one goal in mind: to build warships capable of turning the tide of any conflict. The project was shrouded in secrecy, hidden beneath layers of classified data and compartmentalized projects. The dreadnoughts were built in hidden shipyards deep within the asteroid belts and the shadowed craters of Luna. Their construction was a feat of engineering, a symphony of precision and power. The UES Titan, the flagship of the fleet, was a marvel of engineering. Its hull, composed of a composite alloy of adamantine and neutronium, was nearly impervious to conventional weaponry. Its main armament, a colossal railgun capable of launching hypervelocity projectiles with the force of a small nuclear detonation, could punch through the shields and armor of any known warship. The Leviathan was a behemoth of firepower, its hull bristling with plasma cannons, missile batteries, and disruptor arrays. Its primary role was to shatter enemy formations to create openings for the rest of the fleet. The Ares was a warship of strategic precision designed for orbital bombardment and surgical strikes. Its arsenal included kinetic bombardment systems capable of raining down tungsten rods with devastating accuracy and stealth technology that allowed it to slip behind enemy lines undetected. The Prometheus was the technological marvel, a vessel designed for electronic warfare and advanced reconnaissance. Its sensor arrays could penetrate any known shielding, its electronic warfare suites could cripple enemy systems, and its drone bays could launch swarms of autonomous fighters. Each dreadnought was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a testament to their determination to survive against overwhelming odds. The mobilization. Earth's fleet mobilizes. Varian continued, his voice cutting through the silence, accompanied by a vanguard of battleships and carriers. Our mission is simple: total retaliation. The holographic projection shifted again, displaying the fleet's deployment. Battleships, their hulls gleaming with freshly applied armor plating, moved into formation. Carriers, their flight decks bristling with fighter craft and attack drones, prepared for launch. Frigates, their sensor arrays scanning the void, stood ready to provide reconnaissance and support. The mobilization was a symphony of coordinated action, a testament to the years of training and preparation. Every crew member, from the seasoned veterans to the fresh-faced recruits, knew their role. Every ship, from the massive dreadnoughts to the nimble fighters, was a cog in the vast, intricate machine of war. The atmosphere in the war room was electric, charged with a sense of purpose and determination. The officers, their eyes glued to the holographic displays, barked orders and relayed information, their voices sharp and precise. Technicians, their fingers flying across consoles, monitored systems and adjusted parameters, their movements fluid and efficient. The fleet's jump drives, massive engines capable of bending spacetime, began to charge. The energy buildup was palpable, a low hum that vibrated through the decks and bulkheads. The air crackled with static, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The first target, Epsilon Eridani. Our first target, Epsilon Eridani, Varian announced, his voice filled with grim determination, where the Imperial fleet remains unaware of what approaches. The holographic projection zoomed in on Epsilon Eridani, a star system that had once been a thriving hub of human colonization. Now it was a smoldering ruin, a testament to the Empire's brutality. The Imperial occupation fleet, hundreds of warships strong, patrolled the system, their presence a constant reminder of humanity's subjugation. They had expected stragglers, survivors, perhaps a desperate attempt at rebellion. They had not expected the wrath of Earth's dreadnoughts. "We will strike with overwhelming force," Varian declared. "We will show them that humanity will not be broken. We will show them the true meaning of fear." The fleet's jump drives reached critical mass. With a blinding flash of light and a silent surge of energy, they vanished from Sol, their destination, Epsilon Eridani. The journey through the void. The journey through the void was a silent, tense affair. The fleet traveled through the vast, empty expanse of interstellar space, their sensors scanning for any sign of enemy activity. The dreadnoughts, their massive forms casting long shadows in the starlight, led the way, their presence a symbol of humanity's unwavering resolve. The crew members, confined to their stations, maintained a constant vigil, their eyes glued to their displays, their minds focused on the mission ahead. The atmosphere was a mix of tension and anticipation, a sense of impending conflict that hung heavy in the air. In the command center of the UES Titan, Varian and his senior officers reviewed the battle plans, analyzing data and strategizing for every possible scenario. They knew that the battle ahead would be a test of their skills, a crucible that would forge their destiny. The holographic projection displayed the layout of Epsilon Eridani, the positions of the Imperial warships, and the projected trajectories of Earth's fleet. Every detail was scrutinized, every potential weakness exploited. "We will strike with speed and precision," Varian reiterated, his voice calm and confident. "We will overwhelm them before they have a chance to react." The fleet's approach was calculated, their movements precise and coordinated. They would emerge from jump space on the edge of the system, their arrival a sudden, devastating shock. The anticipation of battle. As the fleet approached Epsilon Eridani, the tension reached a fever pitch. The crew members, their hearts pounding in their chests, prepared for the coming storm. The air crackled with energy, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The dreadnoughts, their weapon systems primed and ready, moved into attack formation. The battleships, their gun turrets swiveling, locked onto potential targets. The carriers, their flight decks buzzing with activity, prepared to launch their fighters and drones. In the command center of the UES Titan, Varian and his officers watched as the fleet's jump drives reached critical mass. The countdown began, a silent, relentless progression toward the moment of impact. 3, 2, 1. With a blinding flash of light and a silent surge of energy, the fleet emerged from jump space, their arrival a sudden, devastating shock. The battle of Epsilon Eridani had begun. The sudden transition from the silent, star-dusted void to the chaotic, sensor-saturated reality of Epsilon Eridani was jarring. One moment the UES Titan and her fleet were hurtling through the dimensionless space between jump points, the next they were materializing on the edge of the system, a thunderclap of technological fury in the quiet expanse of the occupied star system. The Imperial occupation fleet, spread across the system like a network of predatory spiders, was caught utterly off guard. Their sensor arrays, calibrated for long-range surveillance and detecting conventional warp signatures, were overwhelmed by the sudden, near-simultaneous emergence of Earth's forces. The shockwave of the jump drive's activation, a ripple in the fabric of space-time, washed over their sensor grids, momentarily blinding them. In the bridge of the Imperial flagship, the Dominator, Admiral Theron's face was a mask of confusion. The tactical displays flickered wildly, alarms blared, and the bridge crew scrambled to make sense of the chaos. "Report. What is happening?" he barked, his voice laced with a growing unease. "Multiple unidentified contacts, Admiral," a sensor officer cried, his fingers flying across the console. "They've appeared everywhere. Readings are off the scale." Before Theron could issue a coherent order, the first salvo struck. The Titan's opening salvo. The UES Titan, true to its name, unleashed its fury like a Titan of old. Its main railgun, a weapon of terrifying scale, roared to life, the electromagnetic coils humming with immense power. The massive projectile, a tungsten adamantine composite slug, accelerated to a significant fraction of the speed of light, leaving a shimmering trail of displaced particles in its wake. The target was the Dominator, the Imperial flagship, a symbol of the Empire's might and Theron's personal pride. The projectile, a speck of death traveling at impossible speeds, punched through the Dominator's shields as if they were tissue paper. The kinetic impact was catastrophic, the sheer force of the collision ripping through the flagship's reinforced hull, detonating internal munitions and sending a wave of destruction through the ship's core. The Dominator buckled its once imposing silhouette, now a mangled wreck, venting atmosphere and debris into the void. The bridge crew, caught in the inferno, were vaporized in an instant. Theron's last sight was the blinding flash of the Titan's railgun, a harbinger of the doom that was to follow. The Titan's opening salvo was not merely a demonstration of firepower, it was a declaration, it was a message to the Empire, a stark reminder that humanity was not to be trifled with. The Leviathan's fury. While the Titan's railgun had delivered a decisive blow to the Imperial flagship, the Leviathan unleashed a storm of plasma and missiles. Its broadside batteries, a symphony of energy weapons, erupted in a cascade of destruction. Plasma lances, searing beams of superheated gas, carved through Imperial warships, melting armor and vaporizing crew compartments. Missile salvos, swarms of guided projectiles, detonated against enemy shields, overwhelming their defenses with sheer volume. The Leviathan's disruptor arrays, weapons that warped the very fabric of spacetime, crippled Imperial vessels, disabling their engines, weapons systems, and life support. The Imperial warships, caught in the Leviathan's crosshairs, were reduced to drifting hulks, their crews trapped and helpless. The Imperial fleet, disoriented and outmaneuvered, attempted to rally, but it was too late. The human warships, moving with ruthless precision, exploited every weakness, every gap in their defenses. The battleships, their railguns and missile batteries roaring, supported the dreadnoughts, pounding the Imperial formations with relentless firepower. The carriers, their flight decks buzzing with activity, launched swarms of fighters and drones, their nimble craft harassing the enemy and picking off stragglers. The Ares' precision strikes. The Ares, the strategic precision vessel, targeted key Imperial installations and command ships. Its kinetic bombardment systems, capable of delivering tungsten rods with pinpoint accuracy, rained down on enemy positions, shattering orbital defenses and crippling space stations. Its stealth capabilities allowed it to slip behind enemy lines, launching surgical strikes against critical targets. The Ares' electronic warfare suites jammed Imperial communications, disrupting their command and control and sowing confusion among their ranks. Its sensor arrays, capable of penetrating any known shielding, provided real-time tactical data to the fleet, allowing them to anticipate enemy movements and exploit their vulnerabilities. Imperial commanders, accustomed to the slow, methodical battles of their own fleets, were overwhelmed by the speed and ferocity of the human assault. They were used to overwhelming numbers and brute force, but they were unprepared for the precision, the technology, and the sheer ruthlessness of Earth's counterattack. The human tactic, ruthless efficiency. The human strategy was simple: overwhelming force, ruthless efficiency, and a complete disregard for Imperial conventions. There would be no quarter given, no mercy shown. This was not a battle for territory or resources, it was a battle for survival, a war of vengeance. The human crews, driven by a burning desire to avenge their fallen colonies, fought with a ferocity that bordered on fanaticism. They were not soldiers, they were survivors, warriors forged in the crucible of loss and despair. The Imperial warships, their crews demoralized and outmatched, began to break formation, attempting to flee the carnage, but the human fleet, like a pack of wolves, hunted them down, their weapons systems tracking and destroying every fleeing vessel. The psychological warfare. The psychological impact of the human assault was devastating. The Imperial crews, witnessing the destruction of their comrades and the invincibility of the human dreadnoughts, were gripped by terror. The once proud warriors of the Empire were reduced to cowering in fear, their morale shattered. The human fleet, broadcasting on open channels, taunted the Imperial survivors, their voices filled with cold, calculated rage. They reminded them of the atrocities committed against humanity, of the burning colonies, of the enslaved populations. Remember Eridani 3? A human voice echoed through the void, a chilling reminder of a colony razed to the ground. Remember the children you slaughtered? The Imperial survivors, their minds reeling from the shock and horror of the battle, were haunted by the voices, their guilt and fear amplified by the relentless human assault. The aftermath, a graveyard of ships. Within an hour, the Battle of Epsilon Eridani was over. The once mighty Imperial occupation fleet was reduced to a graveyard of burning wrecks, drifting through the void like the skeletal remains of a forgotten armada. Not a single human warship was lost. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the crackling of static and the distant explosions of dying ships. The human fleet, their weapons systems cooling, patrolled the debris field, their sensors scanning for any sign of survivors. The scene was a testament to the sheer power of the human dreadnoughts, a stark reminder of the consequences of underestimating humanity. The Empire, once confident in its superiority, had been dealt a devastating blow, a blow that would shake the foundations of its galactic dominion. The message sent. Admiral Varian, standing on the bridge of the UES Titan, surveyed the wreckage, his face grim but resolute. He knew that the Battle of Epsilon Eridani was just the beginning. The war had only just begun, and the Empire would not yield easily. Send a message to Sol, he ordered, his voice echoing through the bridge. The first phase is complete. We have avenged Epsilon Eridani. The message, transmitted through quantum entanglement communicators, reached Earth in an instant. The news of the human victory spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of hope and determination across the planet. The Empire's arrogance had been their undoing. They had underestimated humanity, believing them to be a weak and insignificant species. They had failed to comprehend the depths of human resilience, the power of human ingenuity, and the ferocity of human vengeance. The Battle of Epsilon Eridani was a turning point, a moment when humanity rose from the ashes of defeat and declared its intent to reclaim its destiny. The galaxy would soon learn that the wrath of the Titan was just a taste of what was to come. The news from Epsilon Eridani spread through the Imperial capital like a virulent contagion, a shockwave that shattered the illusion of invincibility. The Emperor, seated upon his gilded throne, watched the holographic display of the ruined fleet, his face a mask of disbelief and simmering rage. His high command, a council of seasoned admirals and political advisors, stood in stunned silence, their carefully constructed world of unquestioned dominance crumbling before their eyes. The initial reports were dismissed as propaganda, a desperate attempt by the rebellious humans to sow discord, but as the sensor data and holographic recordings poured in, the horrifying truth became undeniable. An entire Imperial fleet, a symbol of the Empire's might, had been annihilated by the very species they had deemed primitive and insignificant. Impossible, the Emperor roared, his voice echoing through the vast throne room. How could a handful of backwatered humans inflict such devastation? Grand Admiral Zalcor, a man known for his cold pragmatism and ruthless efficiency, stepped forward. The reports indicate the humans possess advanced warships, Your Majesty, dreadnought-class vessels, unlike anything we have encountered before. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Dreadnoughts? What manner of technology is this? Zalcor displayed holographic schematics of the UES Titan and her sister ships. Their hulls are composed of an unknown alloy near impervious to our weapons. Their armaments are devastating, capable of shattering our shields and armor with ease, and their speed and maneuverability are exceptional. The Emperor's grip tightened on the armrest of his throne. Exceptional? They obliterated an entire fleet in less than an hour. This is not exceptional, it is an abomination. The High Command, their faces etched with concern, exchanged uneasy glances. The loss of the Epsilon Eridani fleet was not merely a military setback, it was a profound psychological blow. The Empire, once seen as an unstoppable force, had been humbled, its aura of invincibility shattered. The scrambling of armadas. We must respond swiftly and decisively, Zalcor declared, his voice cutting through the tension. We cannot allow this act of defiance to go unpunished. We must demonstrate to the galaxy that the Empire's power remains absolute. The Emperor nodded, his eyes burning with a cold fury. Assemble 3 armadas, the finest warships in the Imperial Navy. We will crush these humans, obliterate their worlds, and make an example of them that will echo through the ages. The High Command sprang into action, issuing orders to the shipyards and mobilization centers across the Empire. The vast war machine of the Galactic Empire, shaken but not broken, roared to life. 3 massive armadas, each comprising hundreds of warships, were assembled, their crews filled with a mix of fear and righteous anger. Grand Admiral Zalcor, a master strategist with a reputation for merciless efficiency, was placed in command of the combined forces. He vowed to bring the full wrath of the Empire down upon the humans, to extinguish their rebellion in a storm of fire and steel. The armadas, their jump drives charged and ready, prepared to converge on the Sol system, their destination Earth. The Emperor, determined to witness the destruction of the human homeworld, declared his intention to accompany the fleet. The preemptive strike on Nova Prime. While the Empire scrambled its forces, humanity was not idle. Admiral Varian, anticipating the Empire's response, devised a bold and audacious plan. He knew that the Empire's strength lay in its vast industrial capacity, its ability to churn out warships and weapons at an alarming rate. To cripple the Empire's war machine, he targeted Nova Prime, the Empire's largest shipyard and manufacturing hub. The Prometheus and the Ares, the dreadnoughts designed for strategic strikes and electronic warfare, were dispatched on a covert mission. Using their stealth capabilities and advanced sensor technology, they slipped past Imperial patrols and infiltrated the Nova Prime system. Nova Prime, a sprawling complex of orbital shipyards, manufacturing facilities, and defense platforms, was a symbol of the Empire's industrial might. It was a fortress in its own right, heavily fortified and bristling with weapons. The Prometheus, using its electronic warfare suites, jammed Imperial communications and sensor arrays, creating a blind spot in their defenses. The Ares, its kinetic bombardment systems primed, launched a devastating barrage of tungsten rods, targeting key infrastructure and defense installations. The bombardment was precise and devastating. Orbital shipyards were reduced to twisted wreckage, manufacturing facilities were engulfed in flames, and defense platforms were shattered into debris. The surprise attack caught the Imperial forces completely off guard, their defenses crippled and their command structure in chaos. Sabotage and infiltration. While the Ares bombarded the orbital facilities, the Prometheus deployed its drone bays, launching swarms of autonomous fighters and sabotage drones. These drones, equipped with advanced stealth technology and specialized weaponry, infiltrated the remaining defense systems, disabling them from within. Human sabotage teams transported by stealth shuttles infiltrated the ground-based facilities, planting explosives and disabling critical systems. They moved with surgical precision, exploiting every weakness, every blind spot in the Imperial defenses. The Imperial forces, disoriented and outmaneuvered, struggled to respond to the coordinated assault. Their communication systems were jammed, their sensor arrays were blinded, and their defense systems were crippled. They were like a blind giant flailing helplessly as the humans systematically dismantled their war machine. The destruction of Nova Prime. By the time the Imperial forces regained their composure, it was too late. Nova Prime was a burning wasteland, its once mighty industrial complex reduced to a smoldering ruin. The damage was catastrophic, crippling the Empire's ability to produce new warships and replenish its losses. The news of the attack on Nova Prime sent shockwaves through the Imperial capital, further eroding the Emperor's confidence and fueling his rage. The humans, it seemed, were not content to merely defend themselves. They were striking back with a ferocity that bordered on madness. They dare to strike at the heart of our industrial might, the Emperor thundered, his voice filled with fury. They will pay for this insolence. Grand Admiral Zalcor, his face grim, acknowledged the severity of the situation. The attack on Nova Prime has dealt a significant blow to our war effort, Your Majesty, but it will not deter us. We will crush these humans, no matter the cost. The gathering of the Armadas. The three Imperial Armadas, their crews burning with a desire for vengeance, continued their journey towards the Sol system. The Emperor, determined to witness the destruction of the human homeworld, remained aboard the flagship, his presence a constant reminder of the stakes involved. The journey through the void was a tense and silent affair. The Imperial crews, haunted by the reports of the human dreadnoughts and the destruction of Nova Prime, were filled with a sense of unease. They knew that they were facing a formidable enemy, an enemy that had proven its ability to inflict devastating losses. Grand Admiral Zalcor, however, remained confident in the Empire's superior numbers and firepower. He believed that the human victories were a fluke, a product of surprise and unconventional tactics. He was determined to demonstrate the true might of the Galactic Empire, to crush the human rebellion once and for all. But deep down a seed of doubt had been planted. The humans had proven that they were not to be underestimated. They had shown a resilience and a ferocity that had caught the Empire off guard. The galaxy was about to witness a war unlike any it had ever seen, a war that would redefine the balance of power and reshape the destiny of civilizations. The Imperial Armadas, now a unified force under Grand Admiral Zalcor's command, approached Zaltor Prime, the last bastion of Imperial strength before the homeworld. This system was not merely a military stronghold, it was a symbol of the Empire's unwavering power, a fortress designed to withstand any assault. Zaltor Prime was a gauntlet of fire, a labyrinth of planetary defenses, orbital battle stations, and three full armadas, all poised to repel the human advance. Zalcor, determined to crush the human rebellion, had fortified Zaltor Prime with every resource at his disposal. He knew that the humans would have to break through this formidable defense network to reach the Imperial homeworld, and he intended to make that task as costly as possible. The human fleet, led by the UES Titan, emerged from jump space on the edge of the Zaltor system. The sight that greeted them was a testament to the Empire's military might. Dozens of orbital battle stations, their hulls bristling with weapons, formed a formidable defensive perimeter. Planetary defense platforms, their turrets swiveling, locked onto the human ships, and three Imperial armadas, their warships arrayed in battle formations, stood ready to intercept the invaders. Admiral Varian, standing on the bridge of the Titan, surveyed the Imperial defenses, his face grim but resolute. He knew that the battle ahead would be a grueling test of humanity's resolve, a crucible that would forge their destiny. "Prepare for orbital bombardment," he ordered, his voice echoing through the bridge. "We will soften their defenses before engaging the fleet." The orbital barrage. The human dreadnoughts, their weapons systems primed, unleashed a devastating barrage of kinetic projectiles and energy beams. The Titan's railgun roared to life, its massive projectiles punching through the orbital battle stations, shattering their hulls and detonating their internal munitions. The Leviathan's plasma cannons and missile batteries erupted in a cascade of destruction, overwhelming the Imperial defenses with sheer volume. The Ares' kinetic bombardment systems rained down tungsten rods on the planetary defense platforms, shattering their turrets and crippling their shields. The Imperial defenses, though formidable, were overwhelmed by the sheer firepower of the human dreadnoughts. Orbital battle stations were reduced to twisted wreckage, planetary defense platforms were shattered into debris, and Imperial warships were caught in the crossfire, their shields buckling under the relentless assault. The human fleet, supported by its battleships and carriers, pressed the attack, exploiting every weakness, every gap in the Imperial defenses. Fighters and drones swarmed through the debris field, harassing the enemy and picking off stragglers. The Imperial counterattack. Grand Admiral Zalcor, witnessing the destruction of his defenses, ordered his armadas to counterattack. The Imperial warships, their crews filled with a mix of fear and determination, charged into the fray, their weapon systems blazing. The battle raged across the system, a chaotic dance of energy beams, missile trails, and exploding warships. The human fleet, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that bordered on fanaticism. They were driven by a burning desire to avenge their fallen colonies, to reclaim their destiny. The Leviathan, its hull bristling with weapons, carved through the Imperial formations, creating openings for the rest of the fleet. The Ares, its stealth capabilities allowing it to slip behind enemy lines, launched surgical strikes against critical targets, crippling command ships and disabling defense systems. The Titan, its railgun and disruptor arrays wreaking havoc, led the charge, smashing through the heart of the Imperial fleet. The Dreadnought's disruptor arrays. The human dreadnought's disruptor arrays, weapons that warped the very fabric of spacetime, proved particularly devastating. These weapons, capable of disabling entire enemy ships with each blast, created localized distortions in spacetime, disrupting the Imperial warships' engines, weapon systems, and life support. The Imperial commanders, accustomed to conventional warfare, were unable to counter the disruptor arrays. Their ships, caught in the distortions, were reduced to drifting hulks, their crews trapped and helpless. The psychological impact of the disruptor arrays was profound. The Imperial crews, witnessing their comrades' ships being disabled and their own weapons rendered useless, were gripped by terror. The once proud warriors of the Empire were reduced to cowering in fear, their morale shattered. The boarding actions. While the dreadnoughts wreaked havoc on the Imperial fleet, human strike teams transported by stealth shuttles and boarding pods infiltrated the remaining enemy ships. These strike teams, composed of elite soldiers and cybernetic operatives, moved with surgical precision, cutting down resistance with ruthless efficiency. They targeted command centers, engineering sections, and weapons systems, disabling key components and seizing control of the ships. The Imperial crews, caught off guard by the human boarding actions, were unable to mount an effective defense. The human strike teams, equipped with advanced weaponry and cybernetic enhancements, were a force to be reckoned with. They moved like phantoms, their movements fluid and silent, their actions swift and decisive. The fall of Zaltor Prime. The Battle of Zaltor Prime raged for days, a relentless clash of steel and fire. The human fleet, though outnumbered, fought with a tenacity that surprised even themselves. They were driven by a burning desire to avenge their fallen colonies, to reclaim their destiny. Grand Admiral Zalcor, witnessing the destruction of his defenses and the relentless human advance, realized that he had underestimated his enemy. The humans were not merely fighting for survival, they were fighting for vengeance, for retribution. He ordered a retreat, hoping to regroup and reinforce his defenses, but it was too late. The human fleet, like a pack of wolves, pursued the fleeing Imperial warships, their weapon systems tracking and destroying every straggler. Within days, Zaltor Prime fell. The once impregnable fortress was reduced to a smoking ruin, its orbital defenses shattered, its planetary platforms crippled, and its armadas decimated. The path to the Imperial homeworld lay open. The psychological toll. The victory at Zaltor Prime was a testament to humanity's resilience, a demonstration of their ability to overcome overwhelming odds, but it came at a cost. The battle had been brutal, the losses heavy. The human crews, though victorious, were haunted by the sights and sounds of war, by the memories of fallen comrades. Admiral Varian, standing on the bridge of the Titan, surveyed the wreckage, his face etched with weariness. He knew that the war was far from over, that the Empire would not yield easily, but he also knew that humanity had crossed a threshold, that they had proven their ability to stand against the might of the galaxy. Send a message to Sol, he ordered, his voice filled with a quiet determination. Zaltor Prime has fallen. The path to the Imperial homeworld is clear. The message, transmitted through quantum entanglement communicators, reached Earth in an instant. The news of the human victory spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of hope and determination across the planet. Humanity had proven that they were not to be trifled with, that they were a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy would soon learn that the siege of Zaltor Prime was just a prelude to the storm that was to come. The fall of Zaltor Prime sent a seismic tremor through the Imperial capital, a world once considered the pinnacle of galactic civilization. The Emperor, his once unwavering confidence shattered, watched the holographic displays of the ruined defenses, his face a mask of disbelief and simmering rage. The once mighty galactic empire, the undisputed ruler of countless star systems, stood on the brink of annihilation. The news of the human advance had spread like wildfire, igniting panic and despair among the populace. The streets, once bustling with activity, were now filled with fear and uncertainty. The once proud citizens of the empire, accustomed to unquestioned dominance, now faced the grim reality of defeat. The Emperor, however, refused to surrender. He clung to the last vestiges of his power, determined to make a final stand against the human invaders. He ordered the remnants of the Imperial fleet, battered and demoralized, to assemble over the capital world to form a final defensive line. "We will not yield," he declared, his voice echoing through the vast throne room. "We will defend our homeworld to the last man, to the last ship. We will show these humans that the Empire's power cannot be broken." The Imperial commanders, though filled with doubt and fear, obeyed their Emperor's orders. They gathered what remained of their forces, a motley collection of damaged warships, and hastily mobilized defense platforms and positioned them in orbit around the capital world. The human advance. The human fleet, led by the UES Titan, emerged from jump space on the edge of the capital system. The sight that greeted them was a stark contrast to the fortified defenses of Zaltor Prime. The Imperial fleet, though numerous, was a shadow of its former self, its ships damaged and its crews demoralized. Admiral Varian, standing on the bridge of the Titan, surveyed the Imperial defenses, his face grim but resolute. He knew that the battle ahead would be the final test of humanity's resolve, the culmination of their long and arduous struggle. "Prepare for orbital bombardment," he ordered, his voice echoing through the bridge. "We will break their defenses and bring the fight to the surface." The orbital firestorm. The human dreadnoughts, their weapons systems primed, unleashed a devastating barrage of energy beams and kinetic projectiles. The Titan's railgun roared to life, its massive projectiles punching through the Imperial warships, shattering their hulls and detonating their internal munitions. The Leviathan's plasma cannons and missile batteries erupted in a cascade of destruction, overwhelming the Imperial defenses with sheer volume. The Ares' kinetic bombardment systems rained down tungsten rods on the planetary defense platforms, shattering their turrets and crippling their shields. The Imperial fleet, though numerous, was unable to withstand the relentless human assault. Their shields buckled under the barrage, their hulls were breached, and their ships were reduced to burning wrecks. The human fleet, supported by its battleships and carriers, pressed the attack, exploiting every weakness, every gap in the Imperial defenses. The orbital battle quickly turned into a massacre. The human dreadnoughts, their disruptor arrays, disabling entire Imperial ships with each blast, carved through the enemy formations, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The Imperial commanders, witnessing the annihilation of their forces, were gripped by despair. The descent to the surface. With the orbital defenses shattered, the human fleet descended towards the capital world. The once proud cities, now shrouded in smoke and fire, were transformed into battlefields. Human strike teams, transported by stealth shuttles and boarding pods, infiltrated the Imperial command ships, cutting down resistance with ruthless efficiency. The Imperial forces, caught off guard by the human boarding actions, were unable to mount an effective defense. The human strike teams, equipped with advanced weaponry and cybernetic enhancements, moved with surgical precision, targeting command centers, engineering sections, and weapons systems. The city streets, once filled with the sounds of commerce and celebration, were now filled with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. Human soldiers, their faces grim and determined, fought their way through the urban labyrinth, battling Imperial defenders and securing key strategic locations. The Emperor's last stand. The Emperor, cornered in his palace, refused to surrender. He clung to the last vestiges of his power, determined to make a final stand against the human invaders. He barricaded himself in his throne room, surrounded by his loyal guards, and prepared for the final confrontation. "They will not take me alive," he declared, his voice filled with defiance. "I am the Emperor. I am the rightful ruler of the galaxy. I will not yield to these human barbarians." The human strike teams, their faces grim and determined, breached the palace defenses, fighting their way through the labyrinthine corridors. They encountered fierce resistance from the Imperial guards, but the human soldiers, driven by a burning desire to avenge their fallen colonies, fought with a ferocity that bordered on fanaticism. The final confrontation took place in the throne room, a vast chamber adorned with symbols of Imperial power. The Emperor, his face contorted with rage and fear, stood before the human strike teams, his loyal guards arrayed around him. "You dare to invade my palace," he thundered, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You dare to challenge my authority. You will pay for this insolence." The human strike team leader, a seasoned veteran named Commander Eva Rostova, stepped forward, her face etched with determination. "Your reign of terror is over, Emperor. You have brought destruction and suffering to countless worlds. You will answer for your crimes." The fall of the Emperor. The final battle was swift and decisive. The human strike teams, their movements fluid and precise, overwhelmed the Imperial Guards, cutting them down with ruthless efficiency. The Emperor, witnessing the annihilation of his forces, was gripped by despair. He drew his ceremonial sword, a weapon of ancient power, and charged at Commander Rostova, his eyes burning with a desperate fury. But Rostova, a master of combat, parried his attack and disarmed him with a swift and decisive move. The Emperor, his weaponless hand trembling, stared at Rostova, his face a mask of defeat. "You cannot kill me," he cried, his voice filled with desperation. "I am the Emperor. I am the symbol of the Empire." Rostova, her face grim and resolute, raised her weapon. "You are nothing but a tyrant, a relic of a dying empire. Your reign is over." With a swift and decisive movement, she fired the energy blast, striking the Emperor in the chest, his body collapsing to the floor. The burning crown. The fall of the Emperor marked the end of an era. The Galactic Empire, once thought invincible, was now shattered, its power broken, its legacy tarnished. The capital world, once the seat of galactic power, was now a smoldering ruin, a testament to the Emperor's hubris and the consequences of underestimating humanity. The human fleet, victorious but weary, patrolled the capital system, their sensors scanning for any sign of resistance. The once proud cities, now shrouded in smoke and fire, were silent, their streets littered with the debris of war. Admiral Varian, standing on the bridge of the Titan, surveyed the wreckage, his face etched with weariness. He knew that the war was over, that the Empire had been defeated, but he also knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had become the apocalypse the Emperor feared. The silence that descended upon the Imperial capital was profound, a stark contrast to the cacophony of war that had raged moments before. The Emperor's fall had left a gaping void, a power vacuum that echoed through the once imposing halls of his palace and across the shattered cities of his homeworld. The Galactic Empire, a millennia-old entity that had shaped the destiny of countless star systems, was no more. The remnants of the Imperial fleet, scattered and demoralized, drifted in orbit, their crews trapped in a state of shock and disbelief. The once proud warriors of the Empire, their faith in their leaders and their invincibility shattered, were left adrift, rudderless in the vast expanse of space. On the surface, the surviving noble houses, the remnants of the once powerful ruling class, gathered in secret conclaves, their voices hushed and their faces etched with fear. They knew that their world had changed irrevocably, that the old order had been swept away by the tide of human vengeance. They debated their options, their voices filled with desperation and uncertainty. Some advocated for a last-ditch stand, a desperate attempt to rally the remaining forces of the Empire and reclaim their lost glory. Others, more pragmatic, argued for surrender, for seeking terms with the human conquerors. Admiral James Varian, standing on the bridge of the UES Titan, received the transmissions from the surviving Imperial factions. He listened to their pleas and their offers, his face a mask of grim determination. He knew that the war was over, but he also knew that the peace that followed would be fragile and fraught with danger. "Send a message to all surviving Imperial factions," he ordered, his voice echoing through the bridge. "We will accept their surrender, but only on our terms. Humanity's terms." The terms were harsh but just. The surviving noble houses were stripped of their titles and their lands. The remaining Imperial warships were surrendered to the human fleet. The vast resources of the capital world were placed under human administration. And the surviving Imperial leaders were held accountable for their crimes against humanity. "We are not conquerors," Varian declared, his voice broadcast across the capital system. "But we will never be prey again. The galaxy will remember humanity's wrath." The message was clear: humanity had emerged from the ashes of oppression, not to rule, but to ensure that no other species would suffer the same fate. The galaxy would remember the name of humanity, not as a subjugated species, but as a force to be reckoned with. Part 8: Humanity Ascendant, a New Galactic Order. The destruction of the Galactic Empire had left a power vacuum, a chaotic void that threatened to engulf the galaxy. Alien empires, once submissive to the Imperials, now found themselves adrift, their allegiances uncertain, their futures uncertain. Some sought to fill the void, to seize the opportunity to expand their territories and assert their dominance. Others, more cautious, sought to align themselves with the new power in the galaxy, humanity. The surviving alien civilizations, witnessing the might of the human dreadnoughts and the unwavering resolve of the human fleets, were hesitant to challenge their newfound power. They recognized that humanity was not merely a military force, they were a symbol of change, a harbinger of a new era. Representatives from various alien empires, their faces etched with a mix of awe and apprehension, approached the human fleet, seeking to establish diplomatic relations. They proposed an alliance, a new galactic federation, with Earth at its core. "We have witnessed your strength," a representative from the Krillian Collective declared, his voice echoing through the diplomatic chamber. "We have seen your resolve. We believe that humanity is the key to a new era of peace and prosperity in the galaxy." Admiral Varian, his face etched with weariness but his eyes filled with hope, listened to their proposals. He knew that humanity had a choice to make, to embrace the role of galactic hegemon or to forge a new path, a path of cooperation and mutual respect. "We did not seek to rule the galaxy," he declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We sought only to defend ourselves, to ensure our survival. But we recognize the opportunity before us, the chance to build a better future for all species." The formation of the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation was born from the ashes of the Empire, a coalition of diverse species united by a common goal, to prevent the rise of another tyrannical power and to foster a galaxy of peace and prosperity. Earth, with its technological prowess and its unwavering commitment to justice, was placed at the center of the Federation, its dreadnoughts serving as symbols of its commitment to defense and its willingness to protect the weak. The human fleet, once instruments of destruction, now served as guardians of the galaxy, patrolling the vast expanse of space, deterring aggression, and ensuring the safety of all member species. A new era of exploration and diplomacy. With the threat of the Empire gone, humanity turned its attention to exploration and diplomacy. The dreadnoughts, once built for war, were repurposed for scientific research and deep space exploration, their advanced sensor arrays and powerful engines opening new frontiers for human knowledge. Human diplomats, their voices filled with empathy and understanding, traveled to distant star systems, forging alliances and building bridges between diverse cultures. Human scientists, their minds brimming with curiosity and ingenuity, explored the mysteries of the universe, unlocking the secrets of advanced technologies and ancient civilizations. Humanity, once a species on the brink of extinction, had ascended to a position of leadership, not through conquest, but through resilience, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to justice. The legacy of the dreadnoughts. The UES Titan and her sister dreadnoughts, once symbols of vengeance, now stood as symbols of hope, testaments to humanity's ability to overcome adversity and shape its own destiny. They were a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could prevail, that even against overwhelming odds, humanity could rise and build a better future. As the UES Titan and her fleet returned home, their hulls scarred but their spirits unbroken, the message was clear: Earth's dreadnoughts had struck, and the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had ascended, not as conquerors, but as guardians, as architects of a new galactic order. And the galaxy, forever changed, would remember the name of humanity, not with fear, but with respect and admiration.